Hey, what's up guys? My name's Ben and this is my channel, The Derelict Gamers. Before we get into the tips and tricks about the gear, I want to go over the loadout that I use when I'm in a gear-orientated mind. So first off, you use Nimble Hands 2. This lets you roll and throw gear at the same time. You can also throw 25% farther, pretty useful. Then I use Combat Reviver 2. This means that when I revive people, I get 15 seconds knocked off the cooldown of my gear, so I get gear quicker. And lastly, I use Helping Hands 2, which means I can revive my teammates faster. More revive means less time till I get my gear. So yeah, let's check out the video. Okay, hey guys, let's start with the first aid kit. It's a pretty simple gear and not many tips for it. But one tip is if you're running with your squad, it's really helpful if at least somebody has a first aid kit. And as for tips for it, you kind of just grab it and you throw it at your teammates. So yeah, let's start there with the simplest one. Okay, so let's talk about the mine. The mine is personally my favorite gear type. I like it a lot because you can place it on the ground and leave it alone and you'll get it down from it if you place it correctly. So let's talk about placing the mine correctly. What you want to do with placing the mine is you want to place the mine where the map makes a natural hourglass shape. Then you want to place the mine where the hourglass shape is at the narrowest. The reason you want to do this is a high traffic area. It's going to see the most travel and you'll get the most downs from it. Also, a good place to place the mine is where people climb a lot. So you place it at the top, they'll climb up, and as they get to the top and they vault over, they trip your mine and they don't have time to get away from it. Another good place to place a mine is next to the pillars. There are pillars in the multiplayer that will fall over when it has a big explosion next to it. So if you place your mine next to it, when an enemy walks past it, they'll trip the mine, it will blow up and knock over the pillar. So this really is helpful because sometimes if you roll correctly you can escape a mine, but if you have it next to a pillar you have 2 times the chances of killing this person. The next place that I like to place mines a lot, it's kind of a troll place, is with the treasure, a treasure mine. You want to put the mine next to where the treasures are because again this is a high traffic area. And a lot of times when people are getting the treasure, they just want to run and get the treasure and then get back into the firefight, so they're not technically or typically paying attention for mines. You won't always get them because it's kind of overdone now, but I do get a lot of kills from trolling on the treasure. And the last tip I want to talk about is a close quarter combat mine. So like when you're in a hip fire and you're circling each other, what I like to do is I like to drop a mine right on my feet. Then as you're running in circles, your enemy will trip the mine and they'll either get killed instantly or they'll get knocked on the ground and then you can finish them off. Okay, so let's talk about the grenades. The grenades are my second favorite gear type, and here's one of the tips I'll give you. I like to upgrade it as quickly as possible. I like to do this because then I can carry multiple grenades, 2 at a time. The reason I want 2 at a time is for when I get a delicious flank, I can chuck them in there. I'll have a bigger area of damage. And sometimes you'll whiff one and you want to hit them with another one. It's just really useful to have 2. So I spend the points early on as quick as I can and I upgrade them to the top tier. Another tip with the grenade is that you'll just have to practice throwing it because you'll want to be able to bounce it off the terrain and do a skip bounce. And the only way to learn this is to practice. So you can do the trials, or you can go into private match and just see how the grenade acts on different terrain types. But the tip is just practice. You gotta throw multiple grenades, throw a bunch. Another tip for the grenade is for when people are behind cover. What I like to do is I like to throw the grenade and then rush. So the reason I do this is because when I throw it properly, the enemy's instantly thinking, I gotta get out of here, I gotta react. So his brain is computing how to evade the grenade and I'm already rushing him. Most of the time they'll jump out of cover. Once they're out of cover, you just go to work. If they don't get out of cover, they'll either get down by the grenade or they'll get knocked on the ground. So once they get knocked on the ground, they'll be able to get back up, but they're like stunned. And then if you're already rushing, you can take advantage of that situation and finish them off. The last tip for the grenade is to remember when you're in close quarter combat that you can chuck the grenade either right at your feet or right behind you, because most of the time when you're in close quarter combat you're both hip firing, and I like to throw the grenade on the ground. Then when we're circling each other, the grenade will either down the enemy or at least stun them, and then I can finish them off. So those are my tips for the grenades. Okay, let's talk about C4. C4 is pretty good, but you kind of have to babysit it. So let's talk about what I mean by babysit it. What I mean by babysit is like if you're going to use it in the fast-paced games like Team Deathmatch and Commander, then you have to sort of keep it in your line of sight. It can be useful. I'm not saying it's not useful in those games, but it's more useful in Plunder. But let's talk about how we can use it in Team Deathmatch. So what I do when I use C4 is I place it at, again, choke points on the map where it's nice and narrow, and then I just keep an eye on it. It's good for when you're making a last stand. But what is also really cool is when you down somebody, you can use them as bait. You chuck the C4, and then when their buddy comes over to, try to revive them, then you detonate them and you get a good, spectacular kill. It's pretty cool. But where C4 really shines is in plunder mode, and it can be a real troll or a cock block when they're trying to put the idol into their treasure chest. So what I like to do is I place the C4 either on the treasure chest or near a corner of the treasure chest. And then I just keep an eye on it from afar, and I can detonate it when I want to detonate it and get some sweet kills. Okay, lastly, let's talk about smoke. Smoke, in my opinion, is the weakest of them all. It's a very passive gear item, meaning it doesn't do any damage to the enemy. But let's talk about it anyway. So one of the ways you can use it is clearly a smoke screen. So you throw it up, then you get a good flank because they don't know where you're at. Then you get it from behind. You can also use it as a smoke screen and then go in there and beat them down with the grappling hook. That's pretty difficult. One interesting fact about the smoke is that when you scope in with your gun, you can see deeper into it. This is like, so if you have a shotgun, you throw the smoke, you run in there, then you can scope in and you can see more instead of when you're just running through it. It's a kind of an interesting fact. But the way that I find the smoke to be the most useful is by using it in tandem with El Dorado. So I first throw the smoke, wait till it builds up, and then I throw the El Dorado. And this way they don't know exactly what's going on because they can't see the little wraiths coming in at them. It seems to be pretty effective. But yeah, that's the last of my video. And if you guys found these tips good or interesting, please comment below. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're interested. I'll be posting more tips and tricks. So yeah, thanks guys. Catch you later.